Hello everyone, Bill here again. In my next installment here of the Bible 101, one of the things I wanted to talk about, which was very popular a couple of years ago, was the Gnostic Gospels and why so many of these Gnostic Gospels were not added to our Bible, or why were they left out. One of the things is that the Gnostic Gospels is not a new thing, and they were not discovered like 50 or 60 years ago, as many people generally believe. The Gnostic Gospels were actually well known literally from the time they were printed, but they were automatically rejected on 2 points. One, of course, was simply time. They were written well after the 12 apostles were dead, well after Christ ascended. So for these person to say, well, this happened or that happened, well, it happened and there's no mention of it prior to, let's say, 200 AD, which, of course, by that time, again, all the disciples were long dead by that point. Then, of course, the other thing was simply context. Okay, what they've written in these books were simply unacceptable and not happen. One of the things that is not spoken of when they speak of the Gnostic Gospels is that the early church fathers did know of these books. And the thing is that they simply did not quote them again prior to 200 AD. The Gnostic books that are out there, they're actually written by a group of people called the Gnostics. And basically what they were trying to do is spiritualize everything, which of course there are some things that were actually in a historical event. Okay, whereas they were trying to spiritualize the event. The only thing we have to it, of course, today would be the New Age movement. Everything is spiritual, everything is esoteric, everything is celestial. Well, that's not true, and I'm speaking from personal experience as an ex-New Ager myself. Okay, these things simply were not true. And again, the church fathers, they also had what we would call Christian secular history. They had a list of bishops and things like this. They had a list of historical events that were going on at the same time the four Gospels were going on. And many times in these Gnostic Gospels, they recorded an event that simply didn't happen. Okay? I'll give you 2 examples of what's written in some of these Gnostic Gospels, and you can clearly see why they were never added and why they were never added. Okay, many people don't realize that there's actually a Gnostic book of the Acts of Thomas and the Gospel of Thomas. Now, in the Gospel of Thomas, one of the reasons why it was never included, of course, was that in the event that Thomas is describing in the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, Thomas is saying, well, Christ went up to the cross, Christ was nailed to the cross. As Thomas moved away before the death of Christ, he saw that the cross was empty. Okay, which of course, right there, the Gospel of Thomas is out. Okay, there's also several Gnostic copies of the Gnostic Gospel of Peter and the Gnostic Acts of Peter. In the Acts of Peter, there is something very strange. Okay, is that it parallels the story of Andocles and the lion. Supposedly in the Gnostic Acts of Peter, Peter comes up upon a lion that's been injured, his paw is injured, he prays, and then the lion is miraculously healed. The lion walks off and doesn't eat Peter as a free lunch. Okay, and then eventually Peter is then captured, okay, and then he is sentenced to be thrown into the Colosseum and be eaten by the lions. Well, all of a sudden, they open up the gate, they let the lion loose, and lo and behold, it's the same lion that healed him, and the lion refused to eat Peter. Sound familiar? Well, if you're familiar with the tales of Andocles, or the stories, or the proverbs of Andocles, you'll see the story where Andocles takes the thorn out of the lion's paw, and again, Andocles goes to the Colosseum to be fed to lions, the lion wouldn't eat him. See? These are one of the many reasons why these Gnostic Gospels were simply not included in our New Testament. So I want to touch on that, the Gnostic Gospels. Now, I did many years ago an actual video on this already. It's called The Gnostic Books. Look for it in my personal collection here. You'll see if that's a much older video. And you will see that I touched on this many years ago. The Gnostic Gospels, the Gnostic books, are simply not included in Christianity for the reasons I just gave. So thank you very much, and please check out the rest of my library here on my channel, and see you all next time.